The Ascent. So, where to start with this one? I picked up this game because I looked at it, took one look at the screenshot and the video, and immediately fell in love with the visual style of this game. Holy shit, the environments are so detailed. This is the kind of thing I expect from a AAA studio. Hell, I don't even expect it from a AAA studio anymore. I am floored when a AAA studio can output this much attention to detail in its world and environments. It is insane. We only get a very few games a year, if that have this level of detail and attention to design and such a clear visual style as this game does. It is absolutely gorgeous, and playing it was no exception. Playing it myself in the 3 hours that I got to have my hands on this game, it was fantastic. The visuals were amazing. The camera sometimes shifts perspective to give you a newfound understanding of how deep and tall and dark the city is. The lighting in particular is fantastic. All the trash you can see on the ground. It's all a truly beautiful spectacle, and one that was well worth the 3 hours I spent with it. The gameplay, on the other hand, this is a toughie. On the one hand, I thought that the game was very well designed. It was very polished. We only experienced one bug, which was I got stuck in a pile of trash, and we had to reset the level. But besides that, the game was very polished. I experienced virtually no issues. But no issues is not the same as fun. And unfortunately, as much as I wanted to like The Ascent, I just couldn't quite get my head around it. On the one hand, it's a twin-stick shooter, which I understand is a very niche genre and is quite possibly just not my thing. That's fine. But usually in twin sticks, from at least what I've seen, one of the key features is the intensity. You are facing, mowing down waves and waves and waves and waves of enemies, absolutely annihilating all the enemies you can, surviving as long as you can, or going through levels or whatever. To be fair, I don't play twin stick shooters, so this is all from the outside looking in. This was not that. This was much more mild, which isn't a bad thing at all. It kind of gave me almost a Wasteland 3 sort of feeling with the way enemies were placed. It was a little bit more than that, but I mean, I don't know. For some reason, the sort of visuals, the design, the top-down perspective, all that stuff, it kind of gave me very Wasteland 3 vibes. Unfortunately, unlike Wasteland 3, which is built on top of a really compelling RPG system, and a lot of diverse options for your builds, and especially a narrative that can change with the choices you make, The Ascent lacks all of these. Unfortunately, The Ascent is very shallow. You walk into an area, you kill a few guys, and then you walk into another area, and repeat and repeat and repeat. The only break in gameplay is when you finally finish the level. Sometimes you'll fight like a sort of boss or something, which, the bosses they're fine. They're mainly just normal encounters, but with one particularly tough enemy. But after you get through all that, your only break in gameplay is to go back to a civilized area, which is one of these little sort of city districts. You can buy new stuff, new weapons, new cybernetics, stuff like that, which is cool in theory. And it's very, very well done visually, for sure. But it's not that all that interesting. It's very basic. You're upgrading your builds, upgrading your gear. Hey, that's all well and good. But that's also literally it. There's nobody to talk to. There's no side quests. The main quests are not very compelling. It's a lot of dialogue that's filled with techno mumble. It's very boring and exposition driven and objective driven. You're kind of just going to go do a thing, to collect a thing, to go kill a guy. Nothing is very interesting. The politics aren't well explained. The entire world is fucking beautifully realized visually, but is stilted in the actual story. I know nothing about this place. I know nothing about the corporations. I know nothing about the characters. I don't even know the names of a single character in this entire game, which is fine. The game does not need to be a story-driven experience, but since it didn't offer me anything else, nothing in the way of diverse gameplay, nothing in the way of variety, nothing in the way of builds, which I desperately wanted, I was really hoping I get sort of this Diablo-esque experience of getting to make my own character with my own build, and I could go into like heavy weapons or explosives or a minigun or something. Instead, what I found was a very simple, very basic shooter that has simple mechanics where you shoot barrels and they explode, or you shoot guys up close with a shotgun and they explode, or you shoot them from far away with a submachine gun and they explode. And that's kind of it. That's the whole experience. It's not particularly challenging. It's not very varied. And it's not all that interesting. I really wanted to like this game a lot, and unfortunately I didn't. That doesn't mean I won't come back to it at some point in my life. The game did get that Cyber Heist DLC, which introduced melee weapons and, I don't know, like a cool bank heist or something, which that sounds awesome. Everything in this game sounds awesome. It just wasn't from my experience, which is very sad. But I hope that changes. Maybe I'll come back to it. The co-op, at least, was fun. We do not have enough co-op games, so any are welcome. Unfortunately, though, the co-op was also fairly bare bones, and there wasn't anything all that interesting about it. Maybe in another 6 hours or so, I'll fall in love with the game. Who knows?